Yo, what is up guys, Ghost here, and today I'm going to be covering all of the new 5.2 changes to the planes and the Fliegerfaust in particular. I know there are a ton of other changes that have come in with the 5.2 patch, and amongst those the time to kill changes for all the different weapons, but I'm not really going to touch on that much today, as I'm well aware that probably every other Battlefield YouTuber out there will be covering that, so I'm going to mainly concentrate on the plane stuff. So let's get into it. So first of all, one of the great changes they've actually made is they've added a bomb aiming reticle to at least the 500-pound bombs on the bomber planes here in the Pacific. I haven't yet had chance to try out the incendiaries, but I can only imagine that they've added the reticles for all of the different bomb variants, because it would be stupid not to, right? But maybe if you guys have tried those out, you can comment down below and just let me know if they've done that or not. So that's really made it way easier to score kills on enemy tanks, especially now. Now, other than that, we have seen a few small nerfs. Overall, I'm pretty happy with them. I think we knew some nerfs would be coming to the 20mm cannons and the incendiary bombs because they just are insane, and overall they haven't been too bad. So the incendiary bombs have had a reduced area of damage from 10 meters to 9 meters, so they'll cover a slightly smaller area, and then they've had their burn time lowered from 2 seconds to 1.8 seconds. So essentially, if a soldier gets caught in the fire, that is the amount of time that they will stay burning and taking consistent damage. So that's been reduced by 0.2 seconds, so not really a massive nerf. Now, moving on to the big one, the 20mm HE splash damage fall off curve has been adjusted to deal less damage over distance. So essentially what that means is that you're not going to be able to hit targets from quite the same distance while zooming in with the high explosive cannons as you were able to before. You're going to have to get in a little bit closer before you can really deal the damage to finish somebody off, and that's going to put you in range of the Fliegerfaust. Now, we'll get to the Fliegerfaust a little bit later in the video because that's seen some significant changes as well. But a couple more nice fixes for the planes here. So the carrier decks are now cleared of mines as soon as a pilot spawns into a plane on it. So the aircraft carriers that you spawn in on the American side, that I recently actually made a video on showing how the spawn killing there was just totally unacceptable, that now has a fix. So if somebody lays AA mines over the carrier runway, as soon as you spawn in a plane, those AA mines will just disappear, so that's great. They've also decreased the camera shake that could occur when firing machine guns in first-person mode in many of the aeroplanes. And first-person mode is always supposed to be a trade-off in my mind of being able to aim better and do more damage to the enemy plane that's in front of you at the cost of less visibility. And the shake of the cannons is just so violent in Battlefield 5 that it almost feels like a non-viable tactic, so that's good that they've reduced that somewhat. Now, the rockets have also seen some significant changes that you get on the second variant of the Zero and the Corsair. So it says here, rockets and airborne heavy cannons are now entirely splash damage based, meaning that they ignore the angle of attack on armoured vehicles and get consistent damage no matter the angle. However, they cannot score critical hits, and only hits to the rear, tracks or turret of an armoured vehicle will disable those parts. This splash damage change also means that close hits now count for more with rockets and mean that they no longer need to directly hit a tank. It will require at least 2 passes from an aircraft to destroy a tank from full health, no matter which tank type they are attacking. Make sure that you team up to take down vehicles quickly. So it sounds like they're now all going to do splash damage and will therefore have their damage factored differently than they did before based on the angle that the tank is that you're attacking. So you're not going to get as many glancing blows anymore, but they're basically saying whatever rocket type you are using, you're not going to be able to just one-shot a tank. Which honestly, I'm not sure is a great idea, because I've been able to one-shot plenty of tanks in the other Zero with the 500-pound bombs. So you can literally run with the 4 HE cannons and the 500-pound bombs, and you can just go to town on both the infantry and tanks, and you can do pretty well dogfighting enemy planes as well. So in that case, where is the incentive to bother selecting the other planes as well? I was really excited for the glider bomb on the American side in the Corsair, but so far what I've seen of that, it honestly doesn't seem very good at all, and definitely not worth taking over the other plane variants. Okay, so let's move on to the elephant in the room, the Fliegerfaust. So first of all, they've increased the Fliegerfaust's projectile lifespan to 3 seconds from 1.5 seconds, meaning that the projectile will now travel up to 600 meters instead of 300 meters. So basically that means that the distance that you can be hit by the Fliegerfaust has just vastly increased. So if you think you're out of range, you're high up in the stratosphere, dropping flares on the enemies, think again, you can get hit by the Fliegerfaust. However, there is more. So the Fliegerfaust now only fires 2 salvos of rockets instead of 3. And also the delay between bursts has been increased accordingly. They've also reduced how close to the aeroplane a Fliegerfaust projectile needs to be in order to detonate. This means players will have to correctly predict plane trajectories and be more accurate in order to deal consistent high damage to a plane. To compensate for the less lenient distance detonation, the grouping consistency of the Fliegerfaust bursts has been increased to still allow players to be effective if they can predict plane trajectories and correctly lead the projectiles. Okay, so all of that is a bit of a mouthful, so let me break that down to you guys. So the range has been drastically increased, but the damage has been decreased by a third, essentially now, because you can only be hit by 2 rockets instead of 3. But in order to compensate for that, the spread of the 3 rockets will be less now, so you can get hit by both those rockets if the player manages to aim well. Essentially, they have time to reload and could follow you up with another 2 rockets as you're leaving your strafe. So previously, the Fliegerfaust, you could just aim all 3 rockets at a plane going overhead. You didn't really have to aim very well. They had crazy splash damage. Boom, plane down. But now, that is not going to be enough to take a pilot down anymore. If you single-handedly want to take somebody out with the Fliegerfaust, it's going to require that first shot, a reload, and then you're going to have to get him as he's flying away, and obviously you're going to have to predict exactly where he's going, and the Fliegerfaust will have the travel time to get there, but the longer the distance, the more skill, the more player skill it's going to require. So far in the games that I've played, I haven't noticed a massive difference. I have noticed getting hit by some Fliegerfausts from greater distances than I was used to before, and kind of being like, wow, oh shit, I'm almost over the deployment here, and I'm still getting hit by Fliegerfausts from the middle of the battlefield. But it's still going to require 2 guys at least with Fliegerfausts to take you down. So is it a nerf? Is it a buff? It's kind of both. You know, I think that 2 players with Fliegerfausts are still going to be equally good at taking down a plane. There is definitely cause to fear the Fliegerfaust still as a pilot, and even more so when you're leaving your strafe and you're trying to get away from those enemy soldiers. You know, you can't just fly a little bit away and then go, right, I'm clear of that zone now, I'm safe. No, that's not the case anymore. You need to keep your wits about you all the time. There we go, guys. That is about it for the plane changes. Now, obviously, there are a lot of other changes that went into this patch. The TTK changes, which is a massive poo storm right now. If you go over to the Battlefield 5 subreddit at the moment, it's quite scary, some of the things that the community are saying on there. But at the same time, I can understand them. Without going too in depth, I honestly don't know why DICE felt the need to make this massive sweep of time to kill changes to the weapons. At first, it sounded like there was just going to be a few choice weapons that they felt were overpowered, like the MG42, a few others. But obviously, if you read the patch notes, which I'll link, by the way, down below for you guys, so if you want to see the whole thing, they've changed like almost every single weapon in the game. And the community was really, really pleased with the Pacific update. I was really pleased. I wasn't really even playing Battlefield 5 until this update came out. This is what really got me into the game. You know, we've got Wake Island on December 12th coming around the corner, and that's going to be fantastic, I'm sure. And I've just sort of sat here scratching my head, wondering how DICE could have made their community so angry at them when they were all so happy. I don't know. It just kind of boggles my mind. What do you guys think? Let me know down below in a comment. Thank you guys for watching the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed. I would appreciate that ever so much. Have a good one, guys, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.